Hello, I'm Pauline Rowson and I'm a crime author of over 20 crime novels set against the ever-changing backdrop of the sea, primarily on the south coast of England. There are 15 in the series featuring my rugged and flawed detective, Inspector Andy Horton, 3 in the Art Marvik mystery thrillers. Marvik is a former Royal Marine Commando and he's working undercover for the UK's National Intelligence Marine Squad. I've also got 2 standalone thrillers and a 1950s set series featuring Scotland Yard detective Inspector Ryger, and it's about the Inspector Ryger mysteries that I'd like to talk to you today. Inspector Ryger is sent out from Scotland Yard to solve baffling coastal crimes, and he first appears in Death in the Cove when he's asked to go down to investigate the murder of a man found wearing a pinstripe suit on the isolated Church Oak Cove on Portland Island in Dorset. Here he meets for the first time former war photographer Eva Paisley, and it's a partnership that's going to flourish or at least appear in the remainder of the Inspector Ryga series. The second Inspector Ryga novel, Death in Harbour, was published in 2020, and in this one Ryga is sent down to the port of Newhaven on the East Sussex coast to investigate why an ordinary police constable has been murdered and his wife has gone missing. And again, as I said, he teams up with war photographer Eva Paisley. The third in the Inspector Ryga series, Death in the Nets, is due to be published in 2021. Ryger is a former merchant seaman and his ship was raided by the Germans in 1940 and he spent the rest of the war years as a German prisoner of war. His experience has made him a very thoughtful, reflective and compassionate man, and he brings those qualities with him to his investigations as well as his vast experience and knowledge of the sea. Whereas Eva is a little bit more feisty and she's a brave individual, a very acclaimed war photographer, and they team up to make a very effective duo. Okay, so why did I choose the 1950s to set a crime series in? Well, the 1950s is a fascinating era because it's caught between the aftermath of the war and the social and cultural revolution of the 1960s. And in the 1950s, certainly in the early part of the 50s, there was a country locked in rationing, there was austerity, and it was such a totally different world from today that as a writer it poses lots of challenge, not only from the research point of view, but also the way that society is living and working and reacting and communicating with one another. For example, of course, there were no computers, there were no mobile phones, there was no internet, no social media, none of the instant communication that we have today, nobody rushing around in police cars, so everything is done at a much slower pace. And there was certainly the social world was very, very different. You had children playing in the streets, on bomb sites, on recreation grounds, totally unsupervised. You had Sunday shops were closed and they also had half day during the week, and there was coal fires and smoke and fog, trams, trolleys and trains, steam trains, and there was also capital punishment. So it was a very interesting era in which to set a thoughtful and reflective detective. In the 1950s there were bobbies on bicycles, there were police boxes for communications, police whistles and white gloves. There was limited sealing off of the crime scene. There were few actual official police photographers, hence Eva Paisley's involvement in the investigations as a former war photographer. There was the murder bag which Ryger takes with him on his investigations. So if you like mysteries and you like a puzzle to solve and you like to escape into another world that is completely different from today's, then why not travel with Inspector Ryger in his mysteries? I hope you will enjoy Death in the Cove, which is number 1 in the Inspector Ryger mysteries, and Death in the Harbour, which is number 2 in the series, which are available in paperback, e-book, Amazon Kindle, and also an audiobook narrated by Jonathan Rhodes and produced by B7 Media. Number 3 in the Inspector Ryger series is hopefully published in 2021, and I hope you have a relaxing, entertaining and maybe even gripping time reading them.